Good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for joining the Warwick Special Education Advisory Committee meeting. I am absolutely delighted that you're here. We've had a little bumps on the road with getting our meeting started up this year due to, exciting election moments, as well as, some personal items that I had for myself. So I'm glad that we were finally able to get some of these items on the calendar. During today's call, we are going to review our business norms and group norms, accept our meeting minutes from last April, hear a report from the Director of Special Services. David is on the line on the phone. He's actually stuck in traffic just like I was a few minutes ago. We're going to get an update from him on the changes into the elementary special education services, which I know even for folks who didn't call in is a topic of interest that we'd love to have an update on. We'll get a report from you, Sean, on the school committee, talk through some old business and new business, and our meeting dates for the remainder of the calendar year. Any questions for everyone before we get started? So I'm just going to go over the group norms relatively briefly. This group has always been absolutely wonderful, and I'm sure we're going to have a good meeting and discussion tonight. So what we'd like to do is just make sure everyone's participating fully, that you have a chance to share your unique perspective. As you're sharing that, keep in mind that there's others in the room who have had different journeys. They've gone through a different path perhaps than you. They may have a different voice, opinion, and view because of that journey. And all of those thoughts are welcome. Just be respectful as you're sharing them. The other thing I would just like to mention is just to remember that the WSEAC is not a support group. We are here to discuss district policy, learn more about the actions happening at an overall district level, and how it impacts both all of our families who have students who are impacted by special education. So just keep that in mind. If there's any individual situations, then they can be raised up to our directors of special services after the meeting. Any questions on our overall group norms? Then at this point, I'd like to turn it over to Caitlin to discuss our meeting minutes and acceptance.
As I'm switching over to the meeting minutes page, do we want to do some brief introductions?
Oh, very good point, as she's doing that. And I apologize. I normally am in the room and I'm not used to being on the phone for these meetings. So we'll do that. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Jennifer Cardillo. I'm the chairperson for the Warwick Special Education Advisory Committee. I have a daughter who is a senior over at Tollgate. So Caitlin, do you want to go next along with everyone in the room?
Sure. I'm Caitlin Regan. I am an elementary special ed LEA representative at Cedar Hill and the secretary of the
Hi, I'm Megan Clean. I'm a special educator at Lippert. I'm Bradley today, and I'm a parent of a reader at staff. I'm Bridget Camacho, and I'm the parent of a student at Oakland Beach Elementary. Alyssa Breyer, parent of a Hopsy kindergartner.
And then on the phone, Sean, why don't we start with you?
Yeah, Sean Galligan, second year on the school committee, chair of the school committee. I'm one of the co-participants on this. My colleague, Leah Hazelwood, will occasionally join. We go back and forth just that way we can share the workload. My wife and I, we very much appreciate people like Jennifer and Caitlin and all the special educators here in Warwick. We have 2 children who have IEPs, 3 children in total attending Warwick Public Schools.
Okay, excellent. Thank you, Sean. Melissa?
Hi, my name is Melissa Lamoth. I am a speech language pathologist for Warwick Schools, and I also have a daughter who is currently at Winman.
Hope?
Hi, I'm a special ed teacher at Welk at John Brown Francis.
Okay. All right. And Yolima?
Hi, my name is Yolima de la Cruz, and I have a daughter at Cedar Hill. Thank you for everything. Thank you for everything. I really appreciate everything that you guys do.
Absolutely. And I'm always really grateful to have everyone on the call, our teachers, our parents, our occasional student who joins us. I wish my student would join. She's not here tonight, though. And is there anybody else that we have missed who it was either on the phone or in the room?
Jennifer, I don't know if I.
Yeah, go ahead, David.
Sorry, this is Dave Allenbach. I'm one of the directors of Special Services.
All right, excellent. And everyone heard his name on the call too right before we got started. So Caitlin, I saw that while we were doing introductions, you were able to get up the meeting minutes from last April. Why don't we take a moment for everyone to read through those, ask any questions they have, especially since it's been a while, and see whether there need to be any changes before we talk about acceptance. So over to you, Caitlin.
I did put a link in the chat too, if anybody wants to access it that way, but I'll scroll through it briefly up here on the screen. And then if anyone has any corrections or clarifications, we can go ahead and make those. It's the local education agency representative, so they represent the district.
Okay. And that 5 schools going to be the 5 that have the special education, so Topsy, Liquid.
It's Lippet,
Oakland
Oakland
Beach,
Beach, Cedar Hill,
Cedar
Park,
Hill.
and Norwood.
Okay, not Topsy.
Not Topsy.
I believe we've reached the end of the minutes, Caitlin. Is that correct?
That's it.
All right, excellent. Any additional questions that anyone on the phone or in the room has about our meeting minutes from last time? Then I'd like to propose that we accept the meeting minutes. Any seconds?
I'll second that.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, of course. Excellent. The meetings are accepted. So, David, if you're in a good place and a safe place to talk, we'd like to turn over to the Director of Special Services report.
Sure. So this is the first time we've met since the beginning of the school year. So going back to day one, we had kind of a rocky start with transportation with statewide. It's my understanding that they switched over to a different computer system, and a lot of the names were lost and routes were lost. So there was a lot of confusion with transportation at the beginning of the school year, and a lot of kids not getting picked up or on the bus for an extremely long time. That has since been rectified, and things have been going pretty smoothly from a transportation standpoint. The dust has kind of settled with all of the buildings and all of the programs. There was a big influx of move-ins to the district over the summer and at the beginning of the school year, which of course was after we had already budgeted and scheduled. So there was a lot of pivoting that needed to take place, and teachers and administrators being very flexible. So that's much appreciated from special services. but things have settled in, and I think we're in a good place right now.
So other than transportation, I know at the beginning of the year, there's normally quite a few changes related to our staff, our teachers, and the like. Do you have an update that you can share that may be meaningful for this committee?
As far as staffing,
Yes.
I know that there was some of the programs where we expected lower numbers. We had staffed accordingly, so we had to increase some teaching assistants in a couple programs. I know that, and then we had a lot of move-ins that already had teaching assistants or one-on-ones in their IEPs that we were obligated to provide. As far as, and I don't have any of my notes in front of me because I'm driving, but I think that we're fully staffed at this point. So I think we're in a good spot.
So the other area, David, that I had emailed you about, and I'm certainly not the only parent who has asked questions, is related to our elementary special education services and the changes that were implemented this year. I was hoping that you could give an update on that and how things are going. And also, I have a feeling there might be a couple questions coming in from those on the call too, if you're ready to take those.
Well, I'd like to, Jen Barber has all the schools that have the LEAs, where most of those changes, have been impacted. She did send me some notes, and I'm going to try and find a safe spot to stop so I can get to those. But maybe while I'm doing that, take the opportunity to hear from. We have some teachers that are at those schools, and I'm assuming some parents of some kids that are at those schools. I'm interested to hear the perspective from some of the teachers and parents about how they think things are going, or if they have any concerns so far.
Okay. So while David's getting in the safe spot for which we definitely appreciate, why don't we go around the table and see if there's any questions or concerns that we'd like to raise? And David, I think you raised your hand again. Might be by accident.
Sorry, that was by accident. Sorry.
No worries at all. So are there any specific questions that anyone who is on the call tonight has about the changes in terms of how it's going, how the training has gone for those who've moved into new roles, and what the reaction has been with the teams that are now at the elementary school level? And Sean, it would be nice to hear too if you've had any concerns raised. I definitely had some emails related to the busing situation at the beginning of the year, which has now been addressed, but I'd be curious what you've been hearing from the community too.
With regards to the changes in the special ed language in the teachers union contract and what we've kind of changed up in the elementary school classrooms, the biggest thing that I've been receiving was there was a perception that their students were not having their IEPs met. And Dave and Jen were both very responsive in every instance where I had them contact the parents. And I'm solely speaking for my district, so wards 1, 2, and 3. They were very responsive, and that Dave and Jen got in touch with those parents and kind of let them know about the changes and that your child's IEPs were being met. It's that the resources now come in to the classroom versus previously the child would be removed from the classroom. And unfortunately, as awesome as WSEAC is, and as great of a presentation that was put on, Jen, correct me if I'm wrong, or Caitlin, I think it was March or April of last year when you guys did that presentation, and we had an incredible amount of attendees. It was exciting to see. There are still parents that aren't following special services in the city of Warwick the way they should. And so until they see it, they are not aware of what's going on. So they were under the impression that the services weren't being rendered. That was the biggest thing that I kept receiving at the start of the year here. So I would categorize it as more of a misconception. What I will say is I have had the opportunity in the first month and a half to 2 months here of the school year to kind of get into the schools a little bit. I visited, about 5 or 6 elementary schools thus far, and I can say that it's pretty cool. The changes I've gotten into now I'm not an educator. I'm somebody who is a parent that is a layperson that's going in and seeing this. So this is all still an educational experience for me as well. I have no issues showing my vulnerability and stating that. But it's pretty neat going into the classrooms now and like seeing the service providers interact with the kids there. And those kids are staying within the classrooms with their peers, which is really neat because, we want all the kids to feel, included, that they're not different, that they just need a little assistance, whether it be math or reading. So that was the biggest thing that I've received thus far on the throughout the year. Just some people that felt that their children's IEP were not being met, but after letting them know, hey, there was this change, your child's IEP is being met. It's just being met in a different fashion, but it's still being met. So that's what I've gotten thus far. And let me know, Jen, if you want me to continue on with my school committee update, or if you want to break at this moment on that topic.
Yeah. If David's in a good place, I'd probably rather not break off the topic. But again, I want to make sure we're being respectful that, David was caught in traffic and needed to find a safe place.
Oh, so you're saying that I was just a filler?
Yeah, but I think
Are
David
you kidding
openly
me?
admitted you were a filler.
Jennifer, we have a question here.
Yeah, go ahead.
So my son's IEP has like a stipulation written there that he has to have a certain amount of time percentage, like 40% time with typical peers, whether that's, at the recess, at gym, at library. Who would I make sure that, like, do I check with the teacher? Do I check with like his case manager? Like, who would I check with to make sure that goal is being met? It's like the only thing we can't verify that because we're not seeing the results of it. We're not there. It's like, who would be the person to like stay on that if you had a concern or question that
you can definitely reach out to your case manager.
Okay.
And they should know.
All right.
Yeah, I would echo that. I know normally, and my daughter's obviously at the high school level now, but even when she was at the elementary school level, it was the case manager first. And then if there were still some additional concerns that could not be met by the case manager where more discussion was needed, that was when potentially they might pull in somebody from the special services office to have further discussion.
And typically when you have an elementary age student, the case manager is the teacher in the classroom?
The special ed teacher.
The special ed teacher in the classroom.
It could vary. Some classrooms have a special ed teacher in them.
Yep.
Some do not have them in there all the time.
Okay. But it would be the teacher that's.
Start with the teacher, yeah.
Yeah.
The teacher.
Okay, great.
Yeah, absolutely. And then if you run into any problems, I know David's on the line. His team is very good. They're very responsive. So, that would be the next step. But I always advocate that as best as you possibly can, start with the case manager. And in the cases where that case manager is your teacher, start with the teacher for your child and see if you can work it through with that team first. Because they're going to be the folks who are going to be seeing your child day in and day out.
Thank you. Guess while we're on that topic, when you have a special education child, you don't get like a report card per se. Do you get like a progress report on the Aspen portal, or will we actually get a report card?
So all students will get a report card,
Okay.
including special ed students. They will also get progress notes
like
Our
kind of
progress
with their
reports.
IEP and stuff?
On each, IEP goal
Okay, all right, great.
How often do you just,
with report cards.
Every time report cards come out, you
When
should
report cards
expect a
come out, we
progress
will get
report, and it's
progress
all
reports.
accessible on the Aspen portal.
Should
Be, if not,
If not, you
go to
can
the
ask for a
teacher.
hard copy.
Go to the
Yeah.
teacher, yeah, okay.
Yeah, and you should be able to sign up for, I know last year I had signed up for alerts on the Aspen portal and those seem to work fairly well because I'm one of those folks who responds well when I'm given a prompt. So that may be something we might want to look into too.
Thank you.
What other questions do we have on the elementary changes? So, that might be from everyone. And then if no one else had any additional questions, I actually want to go back to a point that Sean raised. So Sean, going back to one of the points that you mentioned, you had said that there were, two items, that you were seeing from a pattern standpoint. One being, not necessarily, even though there was a really good public meeting and a follow-up after that in the meeting after between March and April, then there's also, everybody still is absorbing the change and may not have completely understood what the impact was on their child. It sounds like there also needs to, as we had discussed last year, continue to be some elevating of the conversation when it comes to the WSEAC, that everyone should probably, who has children in special services, should know that it exists and it's there. I know that the offer, at least at the high school level, I'll vouch for, since that's the one I see, that at every meeting I've been to, they've been offering whether I need additional information. I'm assuming that is happening at the middle and the elementary level, but maybe what we can do is talk to the social media partners within the School of Warwick and the administration and see if we can get the word out a little bit differently.
Absolutely. You and Caitlin and the entire WSEAC team have my full support. So if you need to speak with Dr. Taylor or Mr. Napolillo and state, hey, we need to get out there more and let people know more what's going on. You've got my full support. Whatever you need, so that way parents, Miss Breyer that's in the room there. Last year she found out about WSEAC, and now here she is. She's attending this meeting, and that's great, and I'm proud of that. And I wish more. Before joining this call, I asked my wife if there was anything that she wanted or to bring up or any concerns. So yes, absolutely, we need more families to realize that this organization exists. That's a great resource to families. That's very informational, and it's their chance to have a sounding board because you have people like David, Miss Barber, special educators who are professionals in this field. The people in the room there at Gorton, they're phenomenal, and others that are on this call, they're the people that can help out families and let them know and answer questions and ease concerns. So whatever you need, you continue to have my support, full support. You're on mute, Jen, which is good if you're swearing at me right now.
Oh, I would never do that to you. So, but to your very good points, we've always appreciated the support from the school committee. I think there's already some very good suggestions, and definitely a follow up with Dr. Taylor and his team are in order at this point to continue to spread the word. And just for everyone to know on this call, Sean and I have also exchanged emails today about getting back on the schedule for the school committee. We're not going to do that this month because of the crowded agenda, but I will be presenting from December until June at the school committee every month. Always different avenues. David, I see that you might be back on. I wanted to see if you had gotten into a safe place.
Yes, I am pulled over. So, and I have the notes that Jen Barber had sent me. So I can start and kind of just go through what she had sent. Sean did a very nice job of describing the change that took place with the delivery model. if you recall before, there was either kids were either in a pull-out model or they had the special educator in the classroom. We've changed to a more flexible hybrid model so we can meet kids where they are, and we have the option of the push in the classroom to provide the service in the classroom, or we can pull them out for more one-on-one individual attention. The flexible delivery has the hybrid scheduling model, so kids can get that support in the general ed classroom and those focused pull-out sessions. Each of those schools has a dedicated LEA that oversee the special education services and provide coaching to support the teachers. One thing this does is it enables the principals of the buildings who used to fulfill that role to focus on instructional leadership. And another thing that these schools are focusing on is the MTSS process, which is the multi-tiered system of supports, which is formerly known as RTI. So I think that was a little lackluster at some buildings previously. So there was either, when kids were struggling, it was a referral to special education instead of providing those tier 1 supports. So that's something that those schools have focused on working and increasing those supports for kids. I think that the roles of personnel in those schools is more clearly defined, where the general educators are the ones that are delivering the core instruction with accommodations, and they collaborate with the special educators to differentiate, for kids. And the special educators will provide that direct support that's aligned with IEP goals through either that push-in or pull-out service. And the LEAs will facilitate the team collaboration. They're the ones who oversee the service delivery and the compliance, and provide that ongoing coaching and training for teachers. Social workers, there's full-time social workers at these schools that provide that SEL support, and also can work with teachers to help provide those tier 1 supports in the classroom to address the behavioral needs. I think there's a goal is to provide some continuous, ongoing, year-long professional development for those teams and those teachers. That kind of covers it. Is there any questions? Anything that I said?
Any other additional questions for David? Anyone in the room on the call calling in?
And she also has that there will be continued family updates. So they're going to continue to keep, the community informed about any changes, and provide opportunities for family engagement around special education, keeping an open line of communication.
Just wondering.
Oh, go ahead. I can't hear you.
I'm not sure if anybody knows the answer to this. Hoxie Elementary, why do they not have an LEA, but they have like a family engagement coordinator, but no LEA?
So the goal this year was to take those 5 schools that were formerly the 5 co-taught schools, where if kids had services in their IEP that required them to be in the general ed classroom, the kids had to go to one of those 5 schools. So we've created the LEAs there because they actually had larger numbers of special ed students because we were transporting students to those schools, with the hope and the thought of growing the LEA position so that eventually all schools would have an LEA.
So at Hoxie, it would be Mr. McCombs, the principal, would have to be responsible for those LEA positions.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct. Yes.
Thank
right now, Mr. McCombs is the LEA for the building, but he also works with the special educator and the school psychologist that's there as well.
Great, thank you.
David, I really appreciate you getting an update from Jen. Sean, your perspective was incredibly helpful. You were not just a filler. It was really nice. So, and appreciated what you've heard from the community and what would be helpful. For all of you who had questions tonight, yeah, I think everyone knows my attitude is keep them coming, because our meetings are going to be as good as the interaction that occurs on this call. David, I would suggest this from hearing the update from you as well as from Sean, that we consider for our next meeting, maybe having something a pinch more formal to just revisit, get everyone realigned again who is attending the WSEAC meetings on what the change was, how those, how's it going, how the interactions are going to occur in the future to involve the community to make sure their voice is being heard. And the rest, I'm hoping that you would be open to that for our next call.
Absolutely. And if it would be helpful too, I can kind of summarize the notes that Jen sent me, and we can maybe include those. I don't know how much Caitlin got for the meeting notes, but I can certainly send a little more detailed description of the progress, so we can include those in the notes for this meeting.
Yeah, I think that would be a great idea. And maybe we can also include, as when we distribute the meeting minutes, the presentation from last year, March and April, so that everyone just has that at their fingertips, just to understand what the structure of that change was a bit better.
Sure, I can certainly send the presentation, put a link to the presentation.
Oh, that'd be great. Thank you. So, at this stage, I think we can transition over to Sean. I know it's been quite an exciting start to the school committee school year, and some of the meetings and some of the key topics, considering how much I've been reading or seeing on Facebook, reading in the paper, etc. So eager to hear your update.
Thanks for that, Jennifer. It's been quite the start to the school year. Actually, it was pretty chaotic summer, to put it mildly. For those on the call that do not know me, Sean Galligan, I'm the District 1 School Committee representative. So I represent wards 1, 2, and 3. And I was chosen by my peers back in January of this year to be the chair of the school committee for the 2024 calendar year. For those that aren't aware, we have 3 district school representatives. So District 1 represents wards 1 through 3. District 2 represents wards 4 through 6. District 3 represents wards 7, 8, 9. And then we have 2 at-large seats. And the 3 district reps and the 2 at-large seats were on alternating election cycles. So they're 4-year terms. I'm midterm right now. I won't come up for re-election until 2026, as well as the other district representatives. Our first meeting in January is always election of officers. The 5 school committee members identify who will be the chair, who will be the vice chair, and who will be the clerk of the school committee. So I'm very fortunate at this time to be the chair. The vice chair is Miss Leah Hazelwood, who has an immense knowledge in special education and in special education law. And she worked in special education for 20 plus years with Warwick Public Schools. And then our clerk is District 3 representative, Miss Michelle Kirby-Chapman. When I was appointed chair, I was very fortunate that Miss Cardillo and myself connected. And one thing that was very big for me was that we gave WSEAC a platform to kind of make sure that we can grow or place a greater spotlight on it. And so now on the Warwick Public Schools webpage, there's a section for WSEAC, all of the minutes, the recordings of these meetings. So that way those who are not in attendance tonight can go back and look at it. As I had mentioned earlier, I do have 2 children with IEPs. We have fantastic special educators in the city of Warwick. Warwick Public Schools has the 2nd highest population for students with requiring special services. That word special is expensive. And that means we need, speech pathologists, special educators, basically people with special training or education. And so I'm fully committed to that since joining the school committee. Anytime anything's come before the school committee, it's received a yes vote for me in terms of if personnel is required. So we have had a very exciting start to the year, to put it mildly. The new construction of the high schools is a big thing at the forefront of everything that we're doing right now. In August, we reported an update to the community on the 20th, and it was showing the designs that went before RIDE that were approved. Now that we've got a little bit more firmer estimates, we're showing that we're going to be over budget on the project, the $350 million that the voters approved. But what I can tell everybody is keep calm and trust the process. It is a process, much like when you're renovating your household. You kind of figure out what I want a new bathroom or a new kitchen. How can I make it work within my budget? And that's what we're doing right now. And we're going to still deliver high quality schools to the general public. We're not going to cut corners. And if it gets to the point where, we need to start to decide to cut corners, we're going to stop and come back to the public. And if we require more money, then that's what we'll ask the general public. But right now, what we reported on October the 23rd to the general public, that number's already come down without making any cuts. And special services has been a very big consideration within the design of the new schools, kind of putting it, all of those students that require, certain services within a specific area. And Dave and Jen might be able to comment on that further because they've likely been consulted. We did have the election last evening, as you all know, and two school committee members were elected. And so incumbent David Testa will be returning to the school committee in 2025 to serve a 4-year term, as well as a new member, Sean Wiggins, whose wife is a TA over at Lippitt. So those two individuals will now be joining the school committee. So next year's school committee will be David Testa and Sean Wiggins as the at-large members, and then myself, Miss Hazelwood, and Miss Michelle Kirby-Chapman as the 3 representatives. As Jennifer mentioned, we will be bringing WSEAC back to the school committee. I think it's a great platform for WSEAC to come and give a very high-level 3 to 5 minute update on a monthly basis. This month has a lot on the agenda, so I didn't want the update to be diluted by any means. And so Ms. Cardillo will be providing an update beginning in December and right at the very start of the meeting typically. And because it's an agenda item, people that want to talk to the topics of special education can certainly come and do so at the very start of the meeting. And when Ms. Cardillo is not available, Ms. Regan is usually the one who fills in for her. So it's always great to have them there and give us updates. It's very informative. As I mentioned, I don't claim to know everything about special services. And so I always learn something from these calls or from those two individuals or other individuals that are on this call or in that room. I was contacted recently by the Kiwanis Club of Kent County. They've now kind of dissolved and they've merged with the Newport organization. They needed to clear out their bank account because they're a nonprofit organization. They asked what they would, what I could use it for. And they were very kind enough to donate, make several donations to PTAs and PTOs. But I also contacted a few people at Hoxie. And although it's not a school within my district, those individuals notified me that they could use some kind of sensory items. And so the Kiwanis Club purchased $300 worth of board games or tents, comforting tents, a lot of great items for the children. And we went and delivered that. I think it was 2 or 3 weeks ago. Excuse me. The month of October has just been a blur. TAs, the language changes. And looking at the minutes from the last meeting, and then speaking with people within the public, general public throughout the summer, and then of course at the start of the school year here. One big thing that people were really concerned about was that in the last budget we cut TAs. We cut, I believe it was 20. And what I can say is take comfort in knowing that I'm a realist. I like to call a spade a spade. I was very confident in knowing that even though we had to cut those TAs, that they were all going to come back anyways. And it's because of our student population requiring special services. So Dave, I believe this month you guys are already, I haven't seen the full agenda yet for next week. I'm supposed to receive it tomorrow, but I believe you guys are requesting another 3 this month. And so we've actually, all the TAs that were cut last year so we can have a balanced budget have all come back and then some. So we're very supportive of this school committee of special services. It holds a special place in our heart. Myself and the vice chair are fully behind this. So you guys continue to have whatever you need to have, so that way the programs can be funded to the extent they need to be funded. Our most vulnerable student population, needs to be funded appropriately. And prior to joining the school committee, special services was my chief concern. So I'll just close with every month when these meetings are held, you'll either have myself or Miss Hazelwood. As I mentioned previously, we're all attending multiple subcommittee meetings, school events. And so just to be fair between, her and I, we just take turns coming back and forth and joining this. But we do communicate with one another. So if something comes up and I need to act on it, don't worry, I'll get on it. And the other thing I'll say is, now that we record these meetings and they're put online, I do go back and watch every single subcommittee meeting, no matter what the topic is. So that's my update, Ms. Cardell. You're on mute, so if you're swearing at me again.
I know the swearing's been really bad tonight for me, hasn't it? I better stay on mute. Just a couple questions for me, and then we'll open it up to the floor.
Yeah, please.
For the high school changes, I know that you held a forum. That was actually why we had moved this meeting last time, to make sure that everyone who wanted to attend from the public could go to that meeting on the high schools. And I know there's quite a few changes. It's great public interest. Are there going to be any additional forums where the public receives updates?
Oh, I love the fact that you're giving me softballs at this hour. Yes, there will be additional forums. So I don't call them forums. They're regular school committee meetings.
Mm-hmm.
So they're not occurring on the regular date, the second Tuesday of the month. I convene the whole team together and we run them like a normal meeting. So there'll be one agenda item. We have public comment. And actually, so I've taken a lot of flack. If you go online, on certain Facebook pages, you might see people like, why doesn't he let us ask questions? Well, we had somebody that came and they had an awesome comment. And public comment's intended for us to get feedback from you, not for people to come up and ask a ton of questions that we can't possibly have all information with us. Like, you'd be bringing a library to the meetings and then having to sift through it and wait hours for us to possibly find the answer to your question. So public comment is for people to come and give their sentiments and their feelings on the project and help us navigate. And somebody came and they said, it'd be really good if you had a website where we could put questions. And guess what? Within 9 calendar days, website's up and running. It was launched last Friday, the 1st. So public comment's huge. I committed, the school committee went 2 years after the bond was passed before engaging the public and bringing them up to speed. In the last 3 months, we've had 2 meetings relative to specifically just the construction of the high schools. We're going to have another one in January, so long as I'm chair. Like, I don't know who's going to be chair. I'm not going to just confirm myself as chair, but I imagine that I would encourage whoever's going to be chair to continue on with having updates every 1 to 2 months. So if we have another one in January, and if it's me in the chair position, that will be 3 updates in a 6-month period. And we will continue to keep I want to bring the public along. One example I gave, and I took a lot of flack for having the meeting in August, but one example I gave was, if me and my wife were going to buy a house and we were pre-approved to $400,000, but my wife expected an attached garage, 3 bedrooms, 2 bathrooms, huge backyard, a fireplace. Well, if all of that didn't fit within our $400,000 budget, well, now I'd start looking at houses and like, we can give you this, but that's got to go away, and that's got to go away. And if you bring the public along, it's a little bit more palatable because they understand, all right, well, that's a $25,000, amenity. So if you can let them know, like, hey, we can keep it, but we're going to need $25,000 more, or this has got to go away. It's more palatable, is what I've been saying. So we're bringing the public along. That's very important to me, that the process is transparent, that the public can comment. So yes, we will have more forums. We will continue to have more forums every other month, so long as I have any say in it.
Okay, thank you, much appreciated. And then okay, it would be helpful. I know that I may have missed the link that has been shared now for the high schools. Can you include that, as either send it over to us or make sure we can include that as part of our meeting minutes?
Yes, absolutely. I'll put it right in the chat box. I believe it's Warwick High School Project, warwickhsprojects.com. It's a really cool website. It's got all the documents on it that we continue to share with the general public. It's got renderings of the facilities or illustrations of the facilities. And then there's a really neat Q&A section. And good for the public, bad for me. It's blowing up my email inbox because the construction managers and the OPMs, they keep sending in the questions that are coming from the general public. And we've gotten about 50 since we've launched the website. So my email inbox just all day long is them discussing how, what information can we grab to respond to this question. The questions will all be categorized. So if your question is financial related, there'll be a finance section. So the answer that's given to you will then be saved and put into the finance category. So that way, if I have a similar question, but Jennifer asked it, I can go on that website and I can see it. And it's right there. There's her question and there's the answer. If it's design related, it would go into a design category, and so on and so forth. So really cool website, super user friendly, very much available to the public right now. So yeah, it's warwickhsprojects.com, I believe. I'll put it in. I'll pull it up right now and then I'll put it into the chat box. But yeah, great question. Great question.
Okay, great. And then the only other thing that I'll give before we go into the room is just a comment that even though I'm not presenting at the November school committee, I'm going to be attending at least the first half of the meeting, just in case there's any questions. I want to make sure that if there are members of the public who would like to have a quick chat with me or Caitlin, because Caitlin normally attends too, that they'll have the opportunity to do so.
Awesome.
Yeah. Caitlin, it looks like there might have been some questions in the room.
I think we're good.
Okay. Are there any questions for Sean for those who called in?
I have one quick question. I recently attended the it's very wordy, Warwick Parent Advisory Committee for Title I schools. Okay, I recently went to that, and I don't know if they overlap with this in any way. Like, they did do any events with them, like the mental health wellness fair or anything like that.
No, that's a district event. They might have also gone to it, but
so there's no overlap in like this committee and that committee.
no.
Okay.
No, but if they are offering an event for the public, and the mental health one is one that we will publicize through our committee to make sure the word gets out as far and reaching as possible. So I actually don't have the contact for that committee, but if someone can share that with me at some point, then I'll be happy to reach out to them so we can better coordinate.
Thank you.
If you guys don't have anything else for me, I do apologize. If you don't mind, I might step out to go help put the kids to bed.
I think that sounds like a very fine choice. Sean, thank you so much. We really appreciate you attending tonight and your commitment to ensuring that we're successful. Looking forward to seeing you next week at the school committee meeting.
Great. Thank you. Thank you for having me, and thank you for all that you guys do in WSEAC in general. And we'll chat soon.
Sounds
Thanks,
great.
Sean.
Thank you.
All right. Thanks, guys. Bye.
Okay, I think at this point, Caitlin, we might be moving on to old business. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. Our old business is a recurring theme on membership. I think that we've covered off at least some of that with the discussion with Sean tonight on how to continue to get the word out about the WSEAC. I will tell you from where I work, one of the best ways I've found to get the word out is for people like you who have attended tonight to spread the word about the next meeting date. Let everyone know what the call-in information is. Make sure that they put their information in for the distribution list. So a little bit of a nudge from you to some of your friends, your peers, etc., goes a long way. I'll continue to work with Sean and the team in the school district for social media to make sure the word gets out that way too. But it would be really nice if we could see additional teachers and additional parents attending the call. And I always hope that some students will stop in too. Any questions about membership?
One question. This is my first meeting, so I'm just assuming that since I signed in that I'll be getting future
Yes, I'm gonna
updates.
put you right on my email list.
Yeah, I found out about WSEAC because I recently had a meeting with my son's speech therapist at school, because I don't know if this is the norm, that I was just trying to get more interaction between parent and the service that they're receiving at school. So I found out who the speech therapist is, reached out, had a meeting, sat down, and then I think our ELA was at the meeting, and she, from that meeting, suggested that I come here and join. So that's how I found out about WSEAC. So I'm happy to be here.
Well, I'm happy you're here too, and I look forward to meeting you in person at our next meeting in December. It'll be really good to, which I think we'll talk about the meeting schedule in case I'm wrong, that we weren't planning to hold one in December, but it'll be nice to see everyone in person. And
Yeah.
I'm glad you're here.
Yeah, thank you. I just think my question in regards to that is it the norm to not really speak with speech therapies or OT, or is that something we're supposed to be looking for in progress reports? Because I just really would love to bridge that gap between parents and the services they're receiving. So whatever they're working on at school, we can work on it at home.
You know what I do? I actually set up like every month and a half, I just send an email and I just checking in. What are you working on? Anything I could be working on at home that would foster what you're working on in school? And I have an open report that they expect to hear from me every month and a half via email or in a meeting in person if that's what you want. And I do it with both the speech therapist and the OT therapist. And so they know, like every month and a half, expect to hear from me because I'm going to ask what's going on, what can I be working on? Because that's the only way to kind of support what they're doing.
Yeah.
You know? But yeah, I think it is kind of a norm. I think some parents don't want the interaction. They just want to send the kid and have them come back.
And some parents, they perhaps hear too much from the parent, and sending over emails, which I probably fall into the camp that you are, that if there's something I have a question on, I just reach out. I make sure that when we have our original IEP meeting that I jot down all the names of everyone who's attended, including the therapists. And then if I have specific questions, everyone has always been wonderful with getting back to me.
I have a good question, but will you do public commenting questions, like where it is on the agenda?
Yeah, we're pretty flexible with our
Yeah, my
with
other
our order of
question,
things. So
so I am in each district, and just wondering, like, there's several acronyms. I feel like everything is very different.
yes.
Just if there's any document anywhere, or potentially a suggestion to create a document with like what each acronym means,
What an LEA
kind of what that
That's a
like
great suggestion.
program is. So
Even-
my child is in the SES program. And again, I think SES is different in every place. And I also don't have any idea where that falls in my contingency. So like if that's a more restrictive than, well, I'm not aware it's more restrictive, but like
Right.
if there are more restrictive than that, if there are less restrictive than that. So that's just a thought question. Great suggestion.
Yeah,
Thank
it
you.
is confusing.
There are education is no have them.
Even like the IRT to the MSMT or whatever. Like,
Yeah.
I've been coming to these meetings
Right.
and I don't fully understand what that is as well.
Yeah.
So yeah, it could be very helpful for
Yeah,
sure.
I'm actually a special educator in another district. So I do feel like even with that, like you said.
Right,
it's
even with
lost
that,
in
it
the same
translates,
thing.
right.
Yes.
Yeah, that's a great idea.
So David, I'm hoping you can hear the conversation, but this sounds like one for you. And as Caitlin pointed out, obviously we're very flexible with our agenda because we're bouncing around a little bit at the present moment, which is all good with me. David, I don't know if you can hear me, but if there's something that we might be able to get out, at least for the acronyms for, the SEAC members, then I think that would be nice. And it would be nice to post that up on the SEAC site.
Yeah, that's actually a great idea because I think we take it for granted and we speak in acronyms and don't don't fully realize that not everybody speaks our language. So that's a great idea. I can certainly put something together. I know there's bits and pieces kind of scattered around, but I'll see if I can't pull everything together and get maybe a dictionary of the acronyms.
That would be absolutely wonderful. And I have to admit, even though my daughter's a senior in high school, I forget what some of the acronyms are, even though I've been told several times. So even I would appreciate that glossary. So thanks for putting that together.
No problem.
So Caitlin, are we on to new business
Yes.
with a sprinkling in of public comment?
Yes.
All right. Okay, sounds good. Okay. So I'm trying to open my phone. Sorry, I'm having to do this. This is a little bit challenging for me. I did not receive any emails with recognition. Go ahead.
With some recognition.
Yeah.
I did receive one recognition.
Oh, excellent. So,
Yep. Caitlin Rochelle, a TA at Pilgrim, was recognized by Ellen Casey. She shared that Caitlin comes to school every day with a smile and positive attitude. Her love of her students and all students that she comes in contact with goes way beyond academics. She's at every unified sports event cheering on all the players. She encourages students to do their personal best. She coaches girls basketball and is available to help her team in so many ways: coaching, academics, food, listening, a shoulder to cry on. Caitlin always goes above and beyond at work. She prefers to be busy and helpful and spend time with the students. Warwick is great to have her as an employee, and the staff at Pilgrim High School are overjoyed to have her.
oh, that's wonderful. That was really nice to hear. No. I did not receive any additional recognition for in my email. I didn't know if anyone on the call had any recognition to share.
I have one.
Oh, excellent.
I don't know the last name. She's the family engagement coordinator at Hoxie. Her first name's Natasha, but I don't know her last name offhand. She just did an event at school for the first family event, whatever. And she did a really good job pulling it together. And we went and had a great time. There was a lot of other families there as well that had a great time. So I just wanted to give her a shout out. Thanks. I'll find out her last name, but the internet's not working.
Yeah, it's
In the
this awful
basement.
service.
The basement. She's new this year. She just got added there to the shed.
That's wonderful. Thank you for sharing. Are there any other recognition opportunities on the call today?
Yes, I could recognize my son's teacher, Cynthia Galuli. She's his kindergarten teacher, and she's just been really great. Like, she updates me every day what he's doing, what's going on. If there's any kind of concern, she addresses it right away. And I feel like when your kids are younger, there's a little more heightened level of concern and anxiety.
Mm-hmm.
We're also new to the area. We just moved here last year, so a new school district and system, and I feel like she's gone above and beyond to just make sure I'm always comfortable and concerns are always met.
Thank you for sharing. That was wonderful. This is actually my favorite part of the entire call. Not that I don't like all the updates and everything else, but I just love hearing about the hard work and all the outcomes that are shared when you see that recognition. Anything else that anyone would like to mention? Anyone else to recognize? All right, then we will move over to opportunities to get involved in the WSEAC. This is actually almost a personal plea of mine at the present moment. As Caitlin and I discussed earlier this year, life is always going to happen. Sometimes, if it may be work pressures, it may be, hey, your kid's not feeling so hot and you need to pay some attention to them. And that's where a lot of you on this call can come in to help. Whether it's just helping us set up as an event or finding different ways to get the word out. If you're really good with thinking of marketing suggestions, then please reach out. I'll work with Caitlin over the next month before we meet in December to talk about, hey, what are going to be those opportunities where we really could use some help and support? It's not going to take a lot of time, but we really would appreciate just a little bit more help with some of the great work that's done by the committee. So personal plea from me. Okay. So our ever popular topic on presentation opportunities, we have been a little light knowing the elections are up and, some other things that I could not commit to at the beginning of the calendar year. But I do think it's high time that we at least schedule a few public presentations for the remainder of the school year. I don't know if there's any immediate suggestions on the call. I know Caitlin and I have both had some community contacts who have reached out to us. The transition night last year was very well received, and I've had a couple parents ask if we're going to do it again. So I don't know if there's any other additional comments of areas that we should explore.
I'm not sure if this goes in this category, but when my son started this year at Hoxie, there was something called a Kids Day. Instead of like going in with the student and doing an open house kind of thing, it was more like you go in, you listen to a presentation for 30 minutes with the principal, and then they take the kids down to the classroom for 2 hours, like a little half a day, starter thing. And it kind of adjusts them before they're going for a full day. I know that one of the few schools that do it. And that should be something that I think that all the schools with a high special education community population should do that, because it's hard for the kids. They don't transition well, especially like autistic. Our sons are autistic, and so they don't transition well. So like a new school, new teacher, new TAs, new peers, new everything is really overwhelming for them. And to have my son be able to go for 2 hours, kind of like a mini day, and not be overwhelmed with the full day was really helpful for us this year. And I know she went to Open Beach this year, and they didn't have that. They just had a regular, come in, see the school, walk through, and go home. And I think our like Kids Day, they called it, was very beneficial to my son's, needs and his limitations.
So David, I'm wondering if you could take that suggestion back. I will say from a transition standpoint, at least I can vouch that Winman and Tollgate were doing that type of transition for students that were transitioning from elementary into middle and then middle to high school. I know it's not always consistent across the district, so it would be nice to understand what opportunities there are and where potentially the schools can provide some support to kids who are in that situation.
Yeah, to have a preschool to elementary.
Yeah, I know usually most elementary schools for Kids Day,
Open Beach Day.
in the spring, usually in May or June, they have a date for all incoming kindergartners to come in.
But they
I don't know
don't
if
come in
it-
and walk through with the parents and leave. There's
Right.
no, like, they don't take them.
Was it in the summer?
No, this
Or was
was
it-
this was in the beginning of school, the school before we went in for the first day. It was like
So like that week before
school started. Yeah, in September or August, whatever it was, August. Yeah, we went in for 2 hours, like a little mini half day.
Mm-hmm.
They went for 2 hours. They were taken by the TAs, the teacher that they're going to down to their real classroom, and I got a chance to like see what it was going to be like and meet some people, including the little peer friends.
I think that so I know that Hoxie is one of the Title
Hoxie
I
does it.
schools.
Mm-hmm.
So I think the Title I
I'll have
schools.
the funding to do this.
Right.
Yeah, something to consider. It should have been doing one, but they didn't. So that's a missed opportunity.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So if I understand some of the comments correctly, it sounds like the Title I schools are potentially doing that. I can vouch for a couple of the schools and for middle and high school that they do have something very similar. David, I don't know if you're aware of whether that type of programming is consistent or whether there needs to be a request for funding. I don't know how much it would cost to do something like that district-wide, but it might be nice for us to understand the situation a bit better across the district.
Yeah, I can certainly look into that. I know that the middle schools, do something with the incoming grade 6 and the high schools with the incoming grade 9 kids. But I think that, to the point of our special education students that don't do that transition well, regardless of the grade, I think it's an outstanding idea. I think the Title I might be a factor. I think that also it's not part of the contractual work year for teachers, so I don't know logistically how Hoxie does that or how Gary does that. Hoxie is one of my schools, so I'll definitely be asking him how he does that and what that looks like, because I think it's a great idea. I think that half day for that transition, just to kind of ease the anxiety of kids, starting a new school year with a new teacher and new students, to have that kind of just a little dip their toe in and see what it's like first, before that first day of school. is a great idea. So however we can facilitate that, I'll definitely look into it.
That would be great. Thank you.
Just two separate things. The one that Caitlin was talking about, the mayor one is Kids Day.
Yeah.
And then
Right.
this one you're talking about before school was the ramp up program.
Okay, they just
So,
call it Kids Day.
yeah.
But she's
It's
Title
two
One, and
separate
they
ones.
didn't
Yeah,
do it
but
to her,
it's
so it's not a Title One thing.
Right, and I went to the Kids Day that was earlier.
Yes, and it
And
wasn't accommodating.
It wasn't, no, well, because I feel like we got it, once you register the student, you get an email saying this is Kids Day.
Yep.
And we went, but when we went, there wasn't a break off for special education.
What if it's taken in there?
No, it was just, there were so many teachers and their kids were split into classrooms and kind of
It was just
interactive.
like in a big presentation.
But it was just really overwhelming for us because my son is not like the other kids.
Yeah, you can go
So
on all.
in my mind, I thought there would have been like, okay, the students are going here. If you're in special education, go this direction, but that didn't happen. So it
That's
wasn't,
probably what they wanted.
it wasn't useful
Yeah,
for us specifically.
So I think two pieces to that, you know, in addition to looking into like what we can help support within that ramp up or that
Yep.
before school August.
Yep.
I think we also need to look at the Kids Day that all of the elementary schools are providing. And I think all of them should have a piece to it that either, you know, there's a special ed component to it, or some schools have more programs than others.
Yes.
But having that piece of being able to ask questions or get more information, even if it's about, you know, special ed advisory committee or, other things that might be helpful.
I think also like a social story or something like that for each of the schools. Like, this is the building, this is what it looks like.
Yeah.
These are
For non-verbal.
Yeah.
nonverbal kids.
Because we at Scott, they had like a school picnic and we were able to attend, but if we had, we wouldn't have had a opportunity to like see the building, meet anybody, those sorts of things.
Yeah. And there are schools who are arranging individual tours too, David. So, you know, for that, you know, if they're transitioning from one school to another. So I think there's some things that are being done on ad hoc basis too. So it'd be really good to understand maybe at our next call what what is actually available and then what the possibilities are from the district level.
Yeah, I'm definitely on board with that, and I definitely want to look into kind of what different schools are doing and how they're doing it. Can I ask a question? So is Kids Day just for incoming kindergartners, or is that for all students?
Yes, just incoming K.
Incoming K, yeah, because I'm familiar with incoming K and them having the Kids Day for that at all elementary schools. But I think we really need to look at some of our IEP kids and some of the needs that they'll have regardless of the grade, and make those transitions smoother.
Yeah, absolutely. Melissa, I see your hands raised.
Thanks, Jen. So what I was going to suggest, I know we were talking about different opportunities for presentations and things like that. And we had the transition night for the older students. I'm wondering about the idea of having a transition presentation for the early intervention to preschool transition so that our WELC parents can kind of get an idea of what it's going to be like when their child transitions from EI into a program at WELC. Having worked at WELC for a few years before I ended up where I am now, I think sometimes it can be a very emotional transition and a very confusing one, because EI provides such a different profile of service than we do at the school level. You know, EI is all in your home, and now your kid's going to be going off to preschool. And what's preschool going to look like? What will the services look like? What's speech looking like? OT, PT, education, all those kinds of things. So I don't know if there's a way to coordinate maybe with the admin at WELC to talk about the possibility of doing that for our parents.
But David, you have your hand raised?
Yeah, I was going to say that sounds like a great idea. I think that there is a lot of unknown, for those EI parents, and it is a totally different ball game when they do get to WELC, to the early childhood. So that's a great idea.
Absolutely. Oh. And I think there was a comment in chat from one of the attendees. I'm trying to get back to chat. I'm so sorry.
Hi, it was me, Hope. I'm at my second job right now, and there's guys playing basketball. But
Oh, thank you. I saw your comment. I'm like, oh no, who said it?
when we have students transition to WELC from EI, we encourage families to come and visit the classroom before the student starts. And if I have parents that work or can't come for whatever reason, I usually take pictures of the classroom and send it to the family so that they can see like where their kid's going to be and explain like how they get services. In addition to the IEP meeting, of course, when we discuss that.
Yep, absolutely. Thank you. So, Yolima?
Thank you, Jennifer. I'm just glad that you guys are bringing this topic about, transition for students. Is it possible to also find out, for the students that are transitioning, like for Cedar Hill to Whitman, like that type of information, if it could be available for parents like me? Because we have been talking about this too at the parents level, like what can we do? Can we visit the school? Or what can we do? Like, we don't know the process. So if you guys could share that information, broadly, that would be very nice.
And David, your list is getting longer.
Yes, I think kind of the overarching theme is that transition into the unknown. So I know both middle schools and both high schools do a real nice job with those incoming grade 6 and grade 9 classes, and they do tours, et cetera. So and certainly individual tours. I don't know if it was Melissa or Caitlin that said that individual tours is something that that we certainly can arrange for kids and parents too.
Yeah. Melissa?
Just to follow up with that, as the speech pathologist at one of the elementary schools, I know for our students that are in 5th grade who are transitioning to Winman or Vets, wherever they may be going, in the spring of their final year, their 5th grade year, we set up a transition meeting with the director, or not the director, with whoever the department head is of special services at either Winman or Vets, wherever they're going, and our team. And we all sit around the table. We talk about what the program will look like at their middle school. We talk about what the classes will look like, how the students move around the hallways, what their schedules might be. And we have that discussion to try to let the parents know that this is what it's going to look like. And then typically the receiving school, so either Winman or Vets, offers the parent the opportunity to tour the school with their child, like toward the end of the summer or maybe at the end of the school year, so that they can go there and see it before actually attending. So I'm not sure. I think you said you're at Cedar Hill. I'm not sure if Cedar Hill does that, but if they don't, you could certainly ask your child's special education teacher if it's possible to schedule a meeting in the spring to talk about the transition and to meet with the person that's in charge of special education at whatever your middle school will be, so you can ask all your questions, so your child can ask all their questions, to make sure that you're comfortable with that move from elementary to the middle school.
All right. Any other suggestions from anyone on the call or anyone online? I know that Carrie, I saw your comment that the transition night was really well received. I heard a lot of compliments personally about the transition night and would like to see us hold that again in the spring. The other piece that came up that may be a really good topic for a early December meeting, so we're not getting into too much of the holidays, is the director of one of the directors of the Rhode Island Emergency Management Agency reached out to me and said they would be happy to stop in and call to talk about the special needs registry and share that information with parents. So I think that that might be nice if they're able to attend next time around.
Jennifer, we also talked about a presentation opportunity for a new offering through RIDE about facilitated IEP meetings.
Yes.
It is a new service that RIDE is rolling out, having facilitators come for specific meetings to sort of help along the process.
Like a support.
Yeah. So if there are, a contentious meeting or things that are being discussed that are people might disagree about, they come in as a facilitator to sort of get two sides in agreement. And they are definitely since it's a new process, they're looking for some families that would be interested in sort of being pilots, and not that they're expecting to have like a meeting, but like if they would just be like to be like the guinea pigs of like, let's roll this process out and see how a meeting like this might work. They were looking for some volunteers, and they were definitely willing to be able to come to the community and share about what they're all about, and what that looks like. So that could be an opportunity too.
Well, I think we're going to have a really full agenda of speakers this year. That would be great. Thanks for raising that one back up. So, all right. So I'm looking at our agenda, or at least I'm trying to, not doing it very successfully. I think our next piece is on the meeting date. Our next meeting date, Caitlin?
Yes. So like you said, we hadn't planned a December meeting date. Did you want to look at a December date, or did you want to go straight to January?
I think I'd like to, just because we've had some challenges with, scheduling for the beginning of the year, and that I'd like to look at an early December date, if that's at all possible.
You want to do December 11th?
Yes, just so we're not getting too close to the holidays. All of us need time to spend with our families.
Will it be here, or will you email us about where it is when
Yeah,
it gets closer?
probably either in the library.
Okay.
I'll look to see if the library is available. They book up pretty quick, but
So
we'll
the
see.
December 11th will replace, so there won't be that November 20th.
Right. Yep.
Yeah, exactly. And I'm also going to get some information too. Apparently the mayor's office has, in the city of Warwick, has a meeting location now that's available. I have no idea about it, but I'll make sure as a backup that I'll get the information from the mayor's office on that space too.
Do we want to readjust I know we had looked at assigning like a couple of months to be presentation versus meeting. Do we want to with that plan, or do we want to, I think we had picked February and April as presentation months, but did you want to try for a presentation in January?
I think we could try. I have no problem with us doing 2 in a row if we need to. What I'll do, so let's at least plan on us doing as scheduled the 2 dates that you just mentioned. And between December and January, let's see what the availability is to maybe sneak another one in, even if it's just somebody coming in to speak at our call.
Okay. So our next 2 dates are December 11th and January 22nd.
That sounds good to me. All right. Everyone, it has been absolutely fabulous to see all of you. We had a very lively meeting. I'm really glad that all of you attended. Caitlin and I will send out our email, the meeting minutes, contact information, and the like, because I saw a couple comments on that in chat, so that you have our information. Hi, Yolima. I know you asked. So, and otherwise, I think we can adjourn for the evening, and you can spend some time with your families.
Thank you. Good night.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, everyone. Have a good night.
Okay,
Thank
bye.
Yeah.